The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
We're very well positioned with probably the only technology right now that is an alternative to the existing supply chains, and that's something that's being recognized not just by governments but by many of the strategic players that we're talking to behind closed doors.
Welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom, and joining me now is Dan Blondal. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Nano One Materials Corp. And Dan, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Very good, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, you're joining us actually from Germany. You're overseas right now on a trade mission, and obviously key into what your company wants to do, and really the prospectivity of Canada as well.
Yeah, the three-stop show here. We started in Rome. I'm in Munich right now. I'm on my way to Paris tomorrow, and really talking in those three jurisdictions to obviously many strategic players, funders, obviously government organizations, finding ourselves super well aligned on really the strategy to localize supply chains and bring about more obviously more prosperity, but bring about a more wholesome and deterministic supply chain and solution to each one of those areas. So we're
Yeah.
really excited about it.
Yeah, Dan, you and I have been talking for many years about your One-Pot LFP technology solution, and really 2025 was such a pivotal year for the company, which will lead you into 2026. We'll get to that in just a second. But talk me through 2025 and some of the key milestones that you and the company saw.
Yeah, so look, it was a building year, as have been the years before, but we're building more. I think we've got three core segments that we're really targeting here. It's the kind of defense and national security, got ESS, data center, AI type of applications, and of course the large electric vehicle sector as well, which is, it's alive and well out there, and we're seeing varying degrees of adoption around the world. So those are really the key parts. Look, we're super aligned as I'm here in Europe. We're finding ourselves super aligned with public policy, with governments, with economic benefits, the environment, intellectual property. They're all very, very much aligned. We're in a hyper geopoliticized sector right now, and we have a viable technical solution to help drive change. So these are all part of what we've been building, but of course, there's also our partners, Sumitomo Metal Mining. We've advanced that towards commercialization, Rio Tinto, qualification of lithium, Worley, our design once, build many solution. Ultimately, we've got to put a lot of non-dilutive financing in place, working capital to drive and draw down on that. And lastly, this whole shift to LFP has really materialized globally, not just here in Europe, obviously very much in North America as well for ESS, automotive, data center, AI, and that's really putting a lot of wind in our sails.
You've done a lot of work in Candiac, which is in Quebec, and that's where your demonstration plant is. A lot of work has been done to get you to really that commercialization in 2026. Can you sort of talk to me about the plant and how that's going to work, and really how that fits into today's announcement and strategy for this year?
So the Candiac plant is absolutely key to our strategy. Primarily and firstly, this is where we are going to generate our first product. We are in early production right now. We're targeting sales by the end of this year, 2026. And that's largely targeting kind of dual use defense, civilian type applications, includes small ESS applications. We're also investing in that plant to expand the capacity, and it's really relatively straightforward automation, materials handling to enable some of the large reactors that are in place there to bring it up to 800 tons. And that'll continue to serve a growing need in the defense industry. And then that plant also, with obviously with those first sales, it'll bring confidence to the product, to the process, to the equipment, to our know-how, and that will then lead to offtake through sampling with larger customers. So that's all underway right now. We expect that plant to be able to do all of the A, B, and C sampling that's needed to get into the very large cell and automotive industry. And so that's why this plant is so kind of fundamental to large scale adoption of the one-pot process in larger plants. And then lastly, we put the design once, build many sort of CAM package together with our partner Worley, and it's essentially it's what we call an inside battery limits design. And to break that down, it's essentially the guts of the plant. It's not necessarily the whole plant design, but it's the guts. It's the key equipment. It's the flow sheets. It's the engineering design. Ultimately, it has kind of class 3 engineering estimates of all of the qualified equipment. And we have a growing list of qualified raw material inputs that we're bringing to the table here. So essentially, you can think of it like a franchise. We're building all the key components here to build out and scale this plant and this technology in jurisdictions all around the world.
And Dan, does it feel that the company needs to be on this breathtaking pace because there's competition coming from all over the world, but the key is to get this built and get to commercialization as fast as possible to really try to capitalize on all the money being spent right now on, as you mentioned, defense and other things, and AI centers and data centers. I mean, they're being built and they need what you have.
Well, listen, the supply chain is disproportionately right now concentrated in one jurisdiction around the world.
Yeah.
We all know where that is.
Yeah.
And it will continue to do so until we reinvent the supply chains and we rethink how we do that, how we and really for us, the one pot process collapses, vertically integrates what's the precursor part and the cathode part into one. That makes the whole underlying cost of the LFP materials cost competitive, but it also allows us to work with suppliers that are kind of Western based rather than necessarily Asian based. And so it enables us to diversify the supply chain, make it more robust. And we can't go fast enough really to deal with the momentum that already exists out there. So yeah, there is a global imperative here to put robust solutions in place that are alternative and economically competitive, environmentally competitive, and ultimately build diversity into our supply chain so we can have robust, reliable, and really robust, reliable supply chains that can last well into the next couple decades.
And Dan, I just want to mention really quickly, you've promoted 2 people within the organization that have been really key in moving things forward for you.
Yes, so that would be Alex Holmes, and we put him into a president and chief strategy officer role, and he's coming out of the chief operating officer role. And Denis Geoffroy, we're putting into the COO role. And really, it's recognition for really hard work, dedication, and ultimately some really big contributions to Nano One. And it helps position our key people for this next phase of growth and the objectives not only in 2026, but what we have going forward into the years that follow.
Okay, and really quickly, Dan, just the last word to your investors. I know there's been a lot of people who've been along for the ride in this in the crazy business that everyone's in. So, just your thought to them and where you see the company moving for the next year and years to come.
Well, listen, it continues to be a nascent market with a lot of change and a lot of opportunity. With that comes ups and downs and disruptions, but at the same time, we're very well positioned with probably the only technology right now that is an alternative to the existing supply chains, and that's something that's being recognized not just by governments, but by many of the strategic players that we're talking to behind closed doors. Yeah, it takes time to get them across the line. Look, we believe that the defense contractors are the ones that are most compelled to basically build these regionalized supply chains. And
Yeah.
they are the ones that are going to really drive the market. They're the catalyst that gets everything going. Once they bring, as I said earlier, they bring confidence to the product, to the process, and ultimately to the underlying expansion and growth objectives that we have as Nano One through licensing.
Absolutely. Dan, thanks so much. I know it's been a busy time. You're overseas, and really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about today's news. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Dan Blondal, the Chief Executive Officer of Nano One Materials Corp.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.